With Dune Part 2 getting ready to release at the beginning of next year, I figured this would be a great time to go over the events of what happened in the first Dune movie in 2021 and do just a little quick recap for anyone who might have forgotten or hasn't seen the movie yet and just wants to watch a 10-minute YouTube video to do a recap before watching. So in this video, I'll do the best I can to recap and break down everything that I feel like is pretty important in the first Dune movie. So in this video, I'm going to keep referring to what I believe is the Star Wars counterpart for the Dune version of stuff. Dune was created first, but there's a lot of stuff that is very similar to Star Wars in the Dune universe, so I will refer to different Dune and Star Wars things just to kind of break it down, since Star Wars is a lot more familiar in the public eye than Dune is. The first thing that I want to break down is House Atreides. Think of Game of Thrones, how there are multiple different houses. House Atreides is the good guys. It's our protagonists. It's all of our main characters are from House Atreides. So Duke Leto, played by Oscar Isaac, is assigned to go to Arrakis by the Emperor. Not the Star Wars Emperor, this is a different guy. But at the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to the Atreides, and all you need to know is they live on this planet called Caladan, and now they are being assigned to go to Arrakis, which is a hellhole, is how it's described. So after this, Paul starts having these very prophetic dreams. Paul is tested with the Gom Jabbar from the Bene Gesserit. What are the Bene Gesserit, right? The Bene Gesserit are no other than this cult of witches, and they're only women in this cult, and their main goal is to find out who the Kwisatz Haderach is, and this is done by years and years and centuries of breeding with high, powerful people to create the Kwisatz Haderach. Throughout this process, the Bene Gesserit are able to control if they have a girl or a boy when they are pregnant. And if they choose to have a girl, she will be inducted into the Bene Gesserit program. And if they have a boy, the child will be tested with a Gom Jabbar, which is a death needle. And it's basically just to see if this child has the accurate traits of the Kwisatz Haderach. So early on in the movie, Paul is tested with this Gom Jabbar, and he's proven to have self-control, so he does not die, thankfully. So after all this happens, the Atreides travel to Arrakis. Upon landing on Arrakis, there's a botched attempt on Paul's life by one of the Harkonnens with this hunter-seeker drone. Not the one from Black Ops 2.
Friendly hunter-killer drone deployed.
So who are the Harkonnen? All you really need to know regarding the first part of Dune is that the Harkonnen are the Atreides' enemies, and for some reason they're all pale and white and ghostly looking. Oh, they're also very, very evil and disgusting. This guy kind of reminds me of the Penguin from the old Batman movie. Next, we're introduced to Duncan Idaho, played by Jason Momoa, or otherwise known as Aquaman, and he has a meeting with Stilgar, who is the leader of the Fremen, who are the Fremen, the Tusken Raiders in the Dune universe. So think of the Fremen are native to Arrakis. That's their home planet, and they live there. They have no beef with anyone. They just want to stay on Arrakis. But if you have beef with them, it will not go well for you. After the Atreides Council meets with Stilgar, Duke Leto goes and saves a bunch of his personnel in this harvester mission and learns all about the worms and the spice on the planet. The TLDR on spice is that it is a psychoactive drug that makes you trip balls, looks like cinnamon, and it has long-lasting properties which will help you live longer. Oh, and it's also kind of used for this universe's version of hyperspace travel, but we don't really need that in this movie, so we're going to skip past it. So the two families that we've been introduced to are the House Atreides and the Harkonnen, and they each have their own respective armies. And then there's also the Emperor. There's a lot of other houses, but these are the main two for the first book that we're going over right now. And there's the Emperor that is over them. The Emperor has his own army, which is on this basically torture planet, and they're called Sardaukar. Sardaukar are, you can think of them as like the stormtroopers of this universe, like the Emperor's army, but they're way, way more intense and destructive. They're crazy. So the Sardaukar are the Emperor's soldiers, and they're the best soldiers in the universe. Throughout the first half of the movie, there's Dr. Yue, who in the book has a lot of personalization to his character, but it's kind of barely touched on in the movie. All you need to know is that he's their medical doctor, and he betrays the Atreides. In the middle of the night, they lower their shields, which allow the Harkonnens to attack Atreides. So the Sardaukar and the Harkonnen forces both take over Arkeen, which is the Atreides main fortress and where they've been staying at on Arrakis. And that's when you have this huge battle in the middle of the night, and it's so granular and spectacular, and I love it. It looks great. But while Dr. Yue betrays the Atreides, he shoots Duke Leto with this little like poison dart that just stuns him essentially. And then Dr. Yue pulls out one of Duke Leto's teeth and replaces it with a poison capsule, kind of like a cyanide capsule. So if you bite down on it and release your breath, it will release poisonous toxin gas into the air. After this, Duke Leto's taken into Baron Harkonnen's chambers. All you really need to know about him is that he is Duke Leto's counterpart to the Harkonnen, and he is so fat and gross and ugly that he has to wear these suspenders, which are essentially just anti-gravity devices which allow him to float because he's so gluttonous that he can no longer walk, and he's just awful. He's also a terrible evil person. So while Duke Leto is laying there, he releases the poison gas and tries to kill Harkonnen for everything that has happened up until this point. But sadly, the Baron does not die. Duke Leto does die, and so does Dr. Yue. While all this is happening, Paul and Lady Jessica try to escape Arkeen, but end up getting captured by the Harkonnen and taken into an ornithopter. While in this ornithopter, Paul finally learns how to control the voice and uses it to save him and his mother from the evil Harkonnen. Then they crash land into the desert. At the same time as this is happening, the Harkonnens take over all of Arrakis and Arkeen, and the Atreides basically cease to exist. To their knowledge, Paul and his mother are the only two sole survivors of House Atreides. This is touched upon more in the book, but while Paul and Lady Jessica are hiding out in the desert in the night, Paul inhales a bunch of spice on top of his vision that he's already having and ends up finding that his mom is pregnant with his sister, which will be in this upcoming movie. She's going to be a big deal in this movie, but all you really need to know is that his mom is pregnant right now. Shortly after finding out his mom is pregnant, Paul's powers begin to awake, and he starts thinking that he might be the and is kind of tempted about where this is going to lead him. And he is very concerned about the path that this is going to lead him down later on in life. Once Paul clears up from his spice trip that he has in the desert, he and his mom continue wandering, trying to find somewhere to stay other than just in the middle of the desert. While wandering around the desert, Paul and his mother run into the Fremen. Once they meet the Fremen, Lady Jessica and the ruler of the Fremen, Stilgar, get into a little squabble, and Lady Jessica bests Stilgar. After seeing that his leader Stilgar got bested by a woman, Jameis no longer wants to follow Stilgar. He wants to challenge Lady Jessica and have him be the new ruler after seeing that Stilgar's weak. Upon announcing that Lady Jessica is pregnant, Paul volunteers to fight Jameis instead, not realizing what he just got into. Paul and Jameis are now in a one-on-one death match. There is no backing out of this. Paul ends up asking Jameis to yield, which is an insult upon their tradition and their tribe, because asking someone to yield in a one-on-one death match is essentially making fun of them. But Paul has never killed anyone up to this point. After dancing around and realizing that he will not get out of this fight unless he kills him, Paul finally bests Jameis. After beating Jameis, Paul finally meets Chani, who's played by Zendaya, and he realizes that this is the girl he's been having these visions about throughout the movie. And then he realizes that the visions that he's having come true, like he's seeing the future. The Fremen then accept Paul and Lady Jessica as their own. This next part's going to be very important in part 2, but essentially the Fremen have this prophecy that, in layman terms, a mother and her son will come and lead them out of their problems and will essentially become their leader. And that this leader of them has prophetic seeing powers and all this sort of stuff that kind of falls into line with everything that Paul is. Is Paul actually their savior, or is he going to take advantage of the Fremen and use this power to get back at the Harkonnens and the Emperor for killing his family? If you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or ask any questions you might have about the Dune universe. I will try my best to explain any answers that you might have. I'm by no means an expert when it comes to Dune. I've just really, really liked the first movie and have read some of the books. But yeah, that'll be it for now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.